this video, I'm taking us to a little country burial ground in Boyd, Texas. Now there's a surprising amount of things to see and even hear in this video. For instance, we're gonna hear a rain crow literally singing up a storm. I'll touch on some elements of Gothic architecture. We are also going to visit the grave of a World War I veteran who I think may have died in the Spanish flu epidemic, and I'll explain why. And of course, we will see a bunch of interesting symbols. We're gonna see, morning glory and palm fronds and, lots of other goodies like that. But if you're here today, why don't you leave a comment and tell me where you are watching this video from? Where do you live? I'd love to know. But first, my name is Snider. I write books, I give talks, and I do a lot of research. And I love sharing the goodies that I find with you. You're gonna wanna stick around to the end because I'm gonna walk on my hands. Just wait and see. So let's hit the road. Here we have a shelter for people to gather at the cemetery. I'm at Boyd Cemetery Association. They have an annual homecoming day, first Sunday in May. And this is a non-profit cemetery association, so people come and volunteer their time to maintain this cemetery. It's looking good. As you can hear, there's a guy over here, I'll show you. He is edging all along the cemetery there. Of course, there we have Larry, as always. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I've spoken before about different homecoming days and decoration days, and we have them quite often in these country burial grounds, such as this one. Let's check out their rules and regulations. No planting of annual or perennial flowers. One flower arrangement permitted per grave space. Okay, they don't want it cluttered. One Christmas arrangement. They'll leave it till February 1st and then they'll take it away. You can't dig or place jars or glass containers. Every cemetery is going to have their own rules. Statues not permitted. Too bad. And they don't allow solar lights. That is interesting. I have been seeing a lot of solar lights in different cemeteries lately. So, like I say, every cemetery association gets to make their own rules. Hey, now we're approaching this section that I always like. This is the more historic section. I see some typical Victorian era markers. We've got the obelisks with urns. Let's take a look. I didn't bring my stick with me. I usually bring a stick. I might have mentioned it before, because I like to kind of make sure there aren't any snakes in the grass. So I'm going to carefully walk over here. Ooh, I see ant mounds. Oh boy, I'm out of practice leaving the house, I gotta be honest. Larry and I are always taking off, except for this past couple months. Like everybody else, we have not been getting out as much. Okay, let me walk over here. And we have some beautiful Indian paintbrush. Does that grow nearby where you live? It's some other little flowers. I'm walking over here just to take a little peek. Really kicking myself for not being a little more cautious about snakes. Oh, here we have a small truncated obelisk. I mentioned truncated obelisks last week. So it's a bit like an obelisk, except they've added a little bit of Gothic architecture to it. See the pointed tops there? So Gothic architecture has that pointed arch to it. It's meant to look like praying hands clasped in prayer. And we have a crown there to, the kingdom of heaven. Oh my goodness, listen, there are some mockingbirds going to town. My dad told me a long time ago that he grew up in Ohio, and he told me that when mockingbirds really start singing a lot, they're singing up a storm. Literally, because it means it's supposed to rain, which is interesting because it is supposed to rain today. So that little mockingbird, maybe he is literally singing up a storm for us today. Let's just enjoy that mockingbird for a second. He is just riffing on it, imitating every bird he's ever heard. Oh, it's really peaceful out here. I wish I'd brought a picnic. Let's take a look here. I'm going to read this one. Another beautiful, this is interesting how this is. It's the headstone marker, and then it's kind of a swayed backed covering there. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. A little unusual. Aunt Sarah, wife of John Irvin. She lived 72 years, 11 months, and 23 days. They used to often tell you exactly right down to the days. She lived a happy life, made many friends, and was loved by all. Oh, here's something I want to show you. See that? It's not showing up on my camera. There is a monument over there. Okay, yeah, it's really glowing bright right now. And I wonder sometimes when people report glowing headstones, which is reported every now and then. I know it's daytime now, but imagine if it were a full moon. Maybe a stone such as this would reflect that full moon and then create a glowing headstone. Because there are several cemeteries where I hear legends about glowing headstones, and I've been to one around here, and that was kind of my conclusion, was that maybe the moonlight was reflecting off of a really shiny headstone. Here we have a silver, it's been painted silver, this gate. Now people used to put gates around their cemetery plots because it really showed the area they were responsible for taking care of. You know, your family plot. You would come on decoration day, you would tend to your family's plot. And when you had it all delineated like this, that really helped make that clear. Now it also helps keep livestock from coming and running amok. We actually have, here in Texas, we have wild grapevines. I think it's called muscadine or muscadine grape. Here is one for you. They crawl all around, they wind all around. Here you can see how they can really grab onto things. They're very cool. The birds in our backyard they love eating them. And now for a word from our sponsor, Ballard's Obelisk Flower, always reliable. This is the day for the mockingbird, I tell ya. Let's check out this dove. Okay. Here we have a little dove. Sleep on, dear Waimita, take thy rest. God called thee home, he thought it best. Here's a closer look at that epitaph. This is a really beautiful little monument. The beak has broken off of this little dove. There's a rosary on it and a little bit of a scroll. Here are some porcelain portraits. I always find these really beautiful. This one is held up very well. Doug and Vera Rollison. I'm just going to zoom in on it. It's just a beautiful portrait of the two of them. Okay, I'm going to walk over here. It says Spike. Maybe that was his nickname. God alone understands. Okay, we're going to open this one up. See this young man. Aw, only 19. You know, when you can put a face to the name, just as in life, it's also in death. It makes it more personal. Very sad. And I'm going to close that up to protect it from the weather. And it said Spike. At one time, these would have been filled with flowers. But now they don't have any loved ones to come back and garden, keep these tended. They're really beautiful, aren't they? This is one reason that I sometimes say that cemeteries are living libraries, because there are heritage plants which you can't find anywhere else, and they are still growing in the cemeteries. There are some cemeteries that have achieved arboretum status. Hey, I see our little Pavarotti, our little Mockingbird over there. Is he going to sing to us or just chirp? He's just chirping now. You know, the video I did recently about how to identify the official military headstones provided by the U.S. government, this is not one of them. You're not required to use those. I mean, it's provided as a courtesy, but you can, or your family can, create a special headstone for you. So here we have one. We have crossed cannons, and we have flags, or a flag, American flag. Private Joseph L. Early, and he died of pneumonia in Liverpool, England. So in World War I, it looks like, asleep in Jesus. So you're not required to use any of those official types of headstones that I mentioned if you served in the military. Anyway, Boyd, especially the historic section here, is well kept and very peaceful. By the way, did you know that I send actual physical postcards to my Patreon supporters? Here's one from March where I visited the grave of some sponge divers. They were Greek immigrants, very interesting. And then in April, I sent some April flowers. So check it out. Hey you, remember to hit that subscribe button because I've got some goodies coming up. I've got 2 videos right now that I'm editing. One is I went back and I revisited the grave of Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca in Star Wars. And the other one, I've just been doing some crazy research for it. It's about people who like buried their body parts, like amputated arms and legs separately, and the whole belief systems behind that. And it's gosh, it's really interesting. So you're not gonna want to miss that. So make sure you hit subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Happy exploring.